Hello, everybody. My name is Lauren Gerhardt, and this is week 2 of judicial procedure. This week, we're going to be talking about the judiciary's role in American politics. So, first, we're going to be talking about the definitions, their philosophies, and the historical context. The concept of judicial restraint describes that judges are not to use their position to expand their powers. They should allow for the executive and the legislative branches to determine policy, while only intervening as judges only when there has been a clear constitutional violation. It also places emphasis on respecting precedent and was very prominent in the early 20th century leading into the New Deal era. So, judicial activism is the philosophy that the judiciary should and can take on more of an activist approach towards determining legal outcomes, using the Constitution to reflect changing societal values, and at times overturning actions taken by the legislative or the executive branch, regardless on if it may contradict precedent. A historical example of this is in the 60s when the Supreme Court expanded civil rights. So, the key difference between these two philosophies is that judicial activism encourages a broad interpretation of the Constitution, even if it means going against the precedent. It aims to ensure justice and equality in the law. However, judicial restraint encourages the opposite. It encourages judges to leave the legislative and executive branch in charge of lawmaking, and the exception of this, obviously, like I said before, was a strong, clear constitutional violation. So these philosophies impact things very differently. Judicial restraint interprets the Constitution in the lens of the founding. They contextualize the intention of the text and respect the balance of state and federal authorities. Judicial activism, on the other hand, broadly interprets the Constitution to ensure a variety of protections towards the individual. It brings the concept of the living Constitution alive, meaning that the Constitution is ever-changing and subject to progress like it is living. The implications are that the judicial activism protects the individual liberties and rights as it broadens to appeal diverse cases. However, judicial restraint can also protect them by limiting the authority of the judiciary. For example, it keeps them from overturning certain decisions that may grant more rights, like Roe v. Wade. As compared to early 20th century courts, the contemporary judiciary is more involved in policymaking. Interpretations of the Constitution now carry a huge factor in legislative decisions instead of just being an interpreter of the law. Three landmark cases that show huge shifts in judiciary philosophy and policymaking is Brown versus Board of Education in 1954, Roe v. Wade in 1973, and if I pronounce this wrong, I'm sorry, Obergefell versus Hodges in 2015. Brown versus Board of Education marked an overturn of Plessy versus Ferguson and prohibited segregation. Roe v. Wade brought in the right to privacy by allowing women to have the choice of getting an abortion, including societal changes and values. And Obergefell versus Hodges granted the right to same-sex marriage in the United States under the 14th Amendment, giving everyone equal protection under the law as society progressed. So there are several factors that contribute to these changes. One is societal evolution. So as time passes, issues that weren't around at the time of the founding have emerged. Measures of equality with a more diverse population and technology are now being responded to by judicial decisions. Two, political pressures. With the polarization of politics in today's society, the judiciary serves as a neutral resolving tool. And three, judicial appointments. Sorry. Alongside the bipolarization, The Senate and presidentially appointed judges have been used to push policy agendas. Um, depending on each individual judge's method of interpretation, whether they apply judicial restraint or judicial activism, it could swing the way that the decisions go. And here are my sources that I used outside of our readings. Thank you.